Yeah, Reuven, Aronashvili, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of CISO Talks today. We've been anticipating this. We're really excited to have you here. I think, first of all, would you be able to just take a couple of minutes to, well, basically introduce yourself and your company, please? That would be fantastic.
Of course. So thank you very much also for having me. That's always nice to be part of this kind of sessions. Let me take you back to my where everything started, right? I started my professional career in the Israeli army. I was part of an academic excellence program of the IDF called Atidim, in which I've done my B Science and M Science degree in computer science and mathematics in Tel Aviv University. And then after that, I joined the cybersecurity unit of the IDF. When joining the cybersecurity unit, I was part of the founding team of the Israeli Red Team that later became the official nation-level Red Team that took under responsibility the Army networks, critical infrastructures, and secret services protection from the cybersecurity standpoint. Then in 2011, I finalized my duty. End of 2011, beginning of 2012, I already founded a SI. And since then, I'm serving as the CEO of the company. We provide different solutions from visibility. That means penetration testing, red teaming, and so on to get visibility into the organizational risk. Then we take it to a risk quantification exercise in which we use some cool capabilities and algorithms that we've developed in order to quantify the likelihood and the dollar value loss that the organization is expected to have. And based on that, we developed the capability of mitigation optimization, which is a very powerful capability. If you think about it, this is like the optimal way to invest cybersecurity funds, let's say, or resources in the organization to create maximal risk reduction and minimal cost. And that's a very powerful capability. That's what we do today. Most of our, let's say, customer base is in Western Europe and North America, but we're working worldwide as an international company. That's very quickly about us.
Thank you very much. So your company CYE covers a lot, and it's incredibly interesting. I think I'd like to kind of break it down a little bit. I was doing some reading about the way that you help organizations identify risk and how you help them to identify the kind of the vulnerabilities that they may have as well, and the kind of the weakest areas. I also read that you kind of do things a little differently there as well. So you don't simulate attacks, you actually perform real attacks. Could you just give us an example of what a typical attack would look like and how you actually go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And, one thing that we learned, that every assumption that you make, right, in these processes will be then the weak point that will be used against you. So we work today with no assumptions while really acting as an actual, let's say, offensive team, depending on what is let's say, the enemy that we want to mimic, but we do that in a very realistic way. That means starting from intelligence collection, like every army organization, before you start an operation, you start to learn the target. From asset discovery, who are the relevant people that are involved in the organization, whether that's social media analysis, whether that's trying to identify all the relevant stakeholders in the organization, the critical assets of the organizations as those are exposed to the outside or to relevant partners. And based on that, you draw a potential attack map. Then at this point, we don't ask for any kind of whitelisting, access, or something to help our activity. We do that everything alone. Of course, one thing that is different in the process is that we are coordinating some of the items with the internal team to make sure that they are not, using resources in case they were able to identify the activity and they think that this is a real case. So we just want to make sure that they know that it's us if they are able to identify that. But other than that, everything is real. Nothing that is simulated. We don't ask, install this tool for me and then provide me the access and so on. We use actual tools, actual attacks, actual capabilities that are out there. We collect those capabilities during our threat intelligence research, during our incident response activities that we do. We take these tools, the actual tools that were used, we remove, of course, the malicious part of it. So we don't want to, of course, to create a damage in the organization. But other than, just taking off the impact or the consequences to the organization, everything else is real end-to-end. So an attack can start with the intelligence collection. Then we will start either from the outside or from the inside, depending on what the attack scenario means. In some cases, we can come physically into a bank branch, sit in the lobby waiting for our turn, and in the meanwhile, trying to connect to the Wi-Fi or connecting to an available RJ port in the wall or something similar. Or we can send, the basic social engineering capabilities, phishing or so on. Or we take it to a more advanced capabilities that are actually attacking the actual available interfaces, either by well-known vulnerabilities or vulnerabilities that we've developed ourselves. So we take a very wide range of offensive, capabilities, and we tailor those to the relevant requirements and needs of the organization. But once we achieved initial foothold in the organization, whether through a phishing attack or a vulnerability that we found on a website, or an asset that we abandoned asset that we were able to identify and get control of, we are taking it to the next level, and then moving laterally in the organization based on identity-related vulnerabilities, or by identifying. You'll be surprised how many times we are going to the file share server of the organization, and we found administrative users and passwords that are just out there. And you can use those in order to get access to critical assets of the organization while demonstrating what is the damage that can be done there. When I'm saying demonstrating, again, we are very realistic there as well. If we are working with a bank and we want to demonstrate a financial fraud, we will take 100, 200 million from their accounts, we wire transfer it to our account to demonstrate that it's possible. So Wow. It's not just saying theoretically it's possible. We actually do that. Right? Sometimes when we get to manufacturing environment, of course, we don't shut down the manufacturing environment, but we show that it's possible. We show the red button, right? And we say, hey, we are now about to press it or to click it. Do you want us to do that? Yes or no? And then, of course, the organization can decide. In some cases, we were in situations where the security responsible told us, hey, I don't believe that you're able to do that. Go ahead and click the button.
Really?
Then we've done that, and we shut down a full operation, right? And you can imagine the faces and the approach. But again, we are working very closely with our customers. Of course, we won't do anything that the organization is not aware of and doesn't want to execute in the organization. That's very important.
And do you find that when you kind of get in these scenarios, obviously, like you say, it's working in partnership with the clients that you're working with. Do you find that are you talking to people and they are generally surprised that you're able to do this? Do they think that they've got their security tightened up and that, there's no way that you're going to be able to do this? And then, I've got a million questions, but I guess, is there an average time that it takes you to do this, or, and what do they say when you, when you're able to get in and do those kind of things?
Yeah. Let me give you some statistics. We had around 600 engagements until today, more or less, with around 250 organizations. Those are the numbers that we worked on since foundation, let's say. The fastest, time slot that we had until we had full compromise of the organization, that means full control, including all critical assets, was 27 seconds. That was something that was, really, exceptional. On average, it takes us around 3 days. The longest one that we had was around 4 weeks. Okay, and that is just to give you some statistics. Now, the point is, of course, you can always be successful. That's not the point. The point is, what is the effort that you need to invest, and how much is going to cost you as an attacker in order to do that? Right? Yeah. And what are the controls that the organization have in place in order to be able to stand against those specific attacks? And that's something that is really different from different organizations. Now, in almost every organization, when you get in, definitely when you talk about more mature organizations, they know that they have vulnerabilities. So at the beginning, they are not surprised. But I have to tell you that in most of the cases, when we demonstrate in the end, the actual impact, right, to the organization, when we demonstrated 100 million left the organization and went to our accounts, you always have people that are either surprised, impressed, or panic
Terrified.
in some kind of mixture between those people in the organization. But I think that the one thing that is very important, we always do that with a lot of respect to the team. We know that it's much easier to be the attacker rather than being the defender. That's something that we learned already. So you just need to know what is the best way really to provide the visibility to the organization. If you're able to provide the state of mind of the attacker to the organization, that's the best value that you can provide, because then the organization can understand where are you coming from, what you are trying to achieve, and then block you in the right places, rather than trying to work in a compliance-oriented concept, which is, of course, okay, but is not insufficient. So from my point of view, understanding the attacker, that's the key to having a more secure organization.